Hey everybody, how's it going? I hope everyone's doing well as usual. So back again quite quickly with yet another video, only because I'm going to be busy for the next couple of weeks. So as I mentioned, that's why I have a few close together. Today I'm actually doing a response video, and this time for the vinyl tag 2025. So not to be confused with the metal tag, which I've just done recently. If you haven't seen that, you can go and watch it. But yeah, this was a series of questions devised by a guy called Pretty Green Vinyl Guy, and I've been watching his video. He came up with 20 very interesting questions, just like the metal tag, but obviously different. You know, they're both interesting, and I've been watching loads of responses to this. And what's interesting about the vinyl tag is it goes beyond the realms of metal, so you know, people with all kinds of musical tastes answer it, and I just find that really interesting because you get an insight into people's eclectic tastes. Having said that, because I listen to like 90% hard rock and heavy metal, like most of the releases I'm going to show today are metal releases, but not all, and also they're different questions to the metal tag. So let's see how that goes. So if you're not familiar, a series of questions are asked and you answer with an example showing a vinyl. And because it's the vinyl tag, there are no CDs today, it's all vinyl. That may seem obvious, but some people have answered with CDs. But anyway, enough babble, let's get on to it. All right, so question one. Best purchase of 2024, new or old? Okay, for me, there were quite a few actually, but the best one was actually Vargrav with the Nighthold. So if you're not familiar, Vargrav are a Finnish black metal band, and they very much emulate the symphonic style of Norway's Emperor. So if you like Emperor, particularly old Emperor, and the album In the Nightside Eclipse, which is an absolute classic, you will love Vargrav. And it started out as a one-man band, but as you can see here, he's recruited some other full-time musicians, including Werewolf of Satanic Warmaster. But yeah, I was amazed actually. A lot of people said they were disappointed with this album as fans, but I think it's the best. There are also elements in the keyboard sound of Dimmu Borgir as well. So if you like symphonic black metal, particularly Emperor, check out Vargrav with the Nighthold. Best purchase of 2024. Okay, question two. 50 years later, the best album from 1974. Okay, for me, that's the Kiss self-titled debut. So it came out in 1974, obviously. This is my third favorite Kiss album from the 70s because there are just other ones which I find better, obviously, and this one suffers from kind of a languid, bad production, but there's no denying there's some brilliant classic songs on this. Like the first four are just amazing. Like you've got Strutter, Nothing to Lose, Firehouse, Cold Gin, and there are some other really good songs on this, like Juice is another one of my favorite, as well as Black Diamond, an absolute classic. Like Black Diamond, such a dark song, one of my favorite Kiss songs. So yeah, for me, best album from 1974 is Kiss with their self-titled debut. All right, question three, an album that defines a genre. Okay, so this is some non-metal this time. This is Dr. Doom with First Come, First Served. So if you're not familiar, Dr. Doom is a like hip-hop or rap project devised by a guy called Kool Keith, so the rapper Kool Keith, and he's had several projects where he devises like a different persona or character. So like he also had another one called Dr. Octagon, another one called Matthew where he was a gangster, another one called Black Elvis where he was a rock star, and in this one, Dr. Doom, he's actually a cannibal serial killer. So the lyrics and the theme are based around that, and the genre that this falls under, yeah, it's rap and it's hip hop, but because it's very dark rap with a kind of horror theme and, you know, really dark sounds and ambience and everything, it came to be known as what is now called horrorcore. So this spawned a whole rap subgenre. I think that's my understanding. Like, I'm not a rap expert by any means, but Kool Keith is my favorite rapper. But yeah, this is really dark rap and hip hop with a horror theme. So basically that's what horrorcore is. And after this particular album, a lot of other groups started forming similar projects with a similar theme. But yeah, I really like this. Like the music is so dark and atmospheric. The lyrics are really quirky and clever. And you know, it's just talking about him as a cannibal serial killer and urban terrorist, like going around causing chaos and mayhem. So yeah, really good. So the album which defined horrorcore is Dr. Doom, First Come, First Served. All right. Question four, best band from your home country. Okay, for me this was a no-brainer. It's AC/DC. So yes, I know AC/DC were originally from Scotland, like the Young Brothers, and so was Bon Scott, I think, but nevertheless, other members, you know, like Cliff Williams, I think was Australian, but the point is the band formed in Sydney, Australia, so essentially they're considered an Australian band. And yeah, one of my favorite hard rock bands. I was going to pull out Fly on the Wall, but I think this one's considered a lot more classic, and it's got one of my favorite AC/DC songs of all time, Live Wire. So yeah, best band from my home country, AC/DC in my opinion. If we're talking about rock, anyway. Okay, question number 5, an artist you miss dearly. For me, that's Ronnie James Dio of Dio. So, of course, probably doesn't need an introduction, but he was in several groups, including Rainbow, and then Black Sabbath, and after he was booted out of Black Sabbath, he formed his, not a solo project, but he used the name Dio for marketing reasons. But, you know, such a brilliant singer and musician, and Dio went on to do, you know, amazing albums right till the end. And he also reunited with Black Sabbath to do Heaven and Hell, but great musician, great singer, and from what I gathered from interviews, he just seemed like a really great guy, like down to earth, thoughtful, articulate, funny, and he was just a real character in every way. And of course, he devised the devil horns, even though Gene Simmons contested that, and he made a joke about it. But yeah, Ronnie was just such a down to earth guy and a great musician. So yeah, that's who I miss dearly. Ronnie James Dio of Dio, etc. Okay, question number 6. Best live album in your collection. Okay, so I don't own many, so for me that was an easy choice. Scorpions with Worldwide Live. So Scorpions, the German hard rock heavy metal band. This is from their 80s era when they recorded this. So it was recorded in the US and parts of Europe and so on, and it covers the material basically from, what is it, Love Drive, Blackout, and Love at First Sting. So no old 70s stuff, but I actually prefer the 80s stuff, even though the 70s stuff is really good. But yeah, it's got all the classics on here, and it comes in this gatefold as well. Yeah, showing you the band playing there. But yeah, really good. It's like just a greatest hits compilation and being played live, so I really like this. Having said that, I also really like their 70s live album, Tokyo Tapes. I would really like to get a copy of that. Yeah, definitely. But for the meantime, Scorpions Worldwide Live. I also have a Fleetwood Mac live album, which I really like. Okay, question number 7. Your partner just dumped you. What album are you going to put on? Okay, so I'm one of those people, if I'm in an upset or sad mood, I'm not going to put on happy music. Some people say, oh yeah, you do that to lift you up. No, I'm not in the mood for it at the time, so I actually went for this, Vinterland with Welcome My Last Chapter. So Vinterland are a melodic black metal band from Sweden, playing very much in the style of bands like Dissection and Sacramentum. But having said that, I always find that with Vinterland, it's really the music and the melody, it's so full of sorrow and melancholy and despair. So I'm not saying that I would listen to this as therapy, but I think this album, you know, the feelings of emptiness, sorrow and despair, that would reflect the mood I was in at the time of, you know, if my partner dumped me. Yeah, so that's the answer to this question. Vinterland, Welcome My Last Chapter. And it wouldn't be my last chapter, but it just, yeah, I think it would suit the mood, definitely. Okay, question 8. Best sounding drums on an album. Okay, so for me, I went with Kiss, Creatures of the Night. So this album, as I've said before, it's one of the heaviest Kiss albums ever done and ever recorded, and that's a lot to do with the drum sound on this album. They're absolutely thunderous, and Eric Carr, the Fox, the new drummer, he is just such a powerhouse drummer, like much more of a hard rock drummer than Peter Criss, who is more minimalist and into jazz and soul and stuff, but absolutely thunderous, you know, like the double bass drumming, the tom-tom fills, the snare hit, it's all really clattery and heavy, and it really contributes to the heaviness of this album. So yeah, for me, album with the best drum sound, on vinyl anyway, is Kiss with Creatures of the Night. Okay, question 9. Favorite artist who is a member of 2 or more bands. Okay, so for me, I went with this gentleman, Werewolf, and you can see this is his solo band, Werewolf, but he's in so many black metal bands. Like his main project is, of course, Satanic War Master, where he collaborates with other musicians, and that's an absolutely brilliant project. I love it. This one, so it's another solo one collaborating with someone else, and he's also in various other bands like Vargrav, which I showed earlier, and I think he played in Goat Moon as well. But I've said this countless times, I just think he's a phenomenal musician and he owns a great record label. Yeah, so that's my answer for an artist who's in more than one band. Favorite artists are Werewolf. Okay, next one. Okay, next question. Beatles or Stones? Okay, so I've mentioned this before that it was only about 7 years ago that I opened my mind up to listen to, so-called oldies music. And I know there's a lot of people out there who really like it, so no offense, but when I was younger, I just thought, oh no, waste of time. But then I opened my mind up and started listening to those groups, and I found that there was some material that I actually liked. But between the two, if I'm deciding between Beatles and Stones, Stones for sure. I just prefer their sound. I think like Rolling Stones is obviously more blues based and it's a bit darker, whereas the Beatles was a bit poppier. And I do like some Beatles material, but I just find, especially with their early material, it's got this really tinny, jangly guitar sound, and it is very poppy. You think about Beatles songs, it's all about the vocal melodies, but you don't, especially with the early material, you don't really focus on the instruments. Whereas I think with the Rolling Stones, you really focus on the music just as much as the excellent vocals. So yeah, this is a greatest hits album, but I really like the Rolling Stones. Yeah. All right. Next one. Okay, question 11. You found a bag of weed. What are you going to listen to? Okay, so this is purely a hypothetical, of course, and I could have chosen many albums from my collection because, it would just suit it, but I went with Varathron with the Crimson Temple. So Varathron are a melodic Greek black metal band, and the reason I chose this album is because they're just so incredibly atmospheric. When you listen to this album, it takes you on a sonic journey through the mystical ancient lands of the ancient Greek world. There's traditional Greek instrumentation, acoustic guitars, keyboards, even sort of Middle Eastern sounding instruments, but it's just very enchanting and atmospheric, spellbinding in fact. So I think that would be perfect for that situation. Yeah, so Varathron with the Crimson Temple. All right. Question 12, an album from the 1980s you still listen to. Okay, so because I'm a metal fan, you can imagine a large substantial chunk of music that I listen to is actually from the 80s. So I decided to go with a non-metal album this time, and none other than Mick Jagger with She's the Boss. So this was Mick Jagger's first of 2 solo albums, released in 1985, I think. And it's different to the Rolling Stones because it's not blues based, it's more just like a rock pop, I think, and with some funk thrown in there. And it is kind of heavy though, like not heavy for like heavy metal style, but it is like more hard rock than the Rolling Stones. But such an underrated gem of an album, and I've spoken to so many Stones fans, and they go, oh no, don't bother with the solo stuff. Really, you're missing out because this album's fantastic. I just love it. So many good songs on this, like Lonely at the Top, Half a Loaf, Running Out of Luck, Hard Woman, absolutely fantastic. But everyone should know this. If you don't, I'll tell you now. My favorite song on this album is Lucky and Love. Just so incredibly catchy and infectious. It's brilliant. And I also really love the title track, She's the Boss. That song is an earworm. It just sticks in your head, especially the pre-chorus and chorus, like Stay Home, It's All Over, The Party's Over. Brilliant song. So yeah, definitely check this out if you haven't. So a favorite album that I still listen to from the 80s, Mick Jagger with She's the Boss. Okay. Question 13, an artist whose political stance has soured you. Okay, I'm not going to answer this question actually. I don't have an example, just because it's undoubtedly going to piss someone off. If you speak badly against someone. So for me, I'll just make this statement that the reason I listen to bands is because of the music, not because of their political views. So having said that, there are obviously a lot of bands and artists where they have different political views to mine. Even though I'm not political, I try to avoid all of that completely. But they have certain views that you may disagree with. But to me, I just think, that's not the reason why I'm listening to the band. I'm listening to it for the music. So I couldn't really say there's an artist whose political stance has soured me. Like maybe I don't agree with them, or maybe I have a different view, but I never let it get in the way of me listening to the music. So there you go. All right. Now, question 14, show a favorite record label. So if we're talking about a record label, a company which releases albums, I would say Werewolf Records, run by Werewolf of Satanic Warmaster, obviously, and those bands that I mentioned before. But if we're talking about a literal record label, I chose from this album Deceased, Luck of the Corpse, which is a old school thrashy death metal band from the US. And I'll just show you, a great album, such an original sounding band in terms of their approach to music and everything. They really do have a unique sound. This also comes on a nice picture disc, and this is my favorite record label here. Just look at that. It's really creepy. It's some kind of witch or zombie. It reminds me of something like out of Evil Dead, the original one, which is my favorite horror film of all time. Yeah, so for, you know, a record label that releases music, I'd say Werewolf Records, but this is my favorite literal record label, Deceased Luck of the Corpse. Okay. I'll deal with this later. All right. Number 15, a run of 3 great singles. Okay, I can't really answer this question because I don't own any singles on vinyl, but I'll show you this EP that I've got. This is one of my favorites. This is Immortal with Diabolical Full Moon Mysticism, I think. Yep, so Norwegian black metal band, you know, very popular, most people know them. This one, it's got two songs from the album, what is it? Diabolical Full Moon Mysticism. So you have Unholy Forces of Evil, one of my favorite Immortal songs, as well as The Cold Winds of Funeral Dust, except here it's called The Cold Winds of Funeral Frost. And they also have this really eerie, creepy keyboard synthy intro, which is exclusive for this release, called Diabolical Full Moon Mysticism. So there you go, picture of the band, and you also have the picture disc here, and guys on the back. Yeah, so I also have the Marduk one, but I thought I won't show that because it might piss some people off, so yeah, we'll leave it at that. So I don't really own any singles, that's the closest thing. Okay. Number 16, a record store purchase that you actually consistently listen to. None. Because, for the simple reason, I've never been to a record store day. Where I live, like the town I'm living in now, there's not even a record shop, but in this country, they don't have record store days, and I've never been to one in my home country, so I just can't answer that question. Okay, question 17. You can be reincarnated as any artist, dead or alive. Who's it going to be? I find this strange to answer, actually, because I can't really imagine being someone else. You know, it's like trying to value my own life and focus on my own life. But if, just theoretically, if I had to say, there's some rock musician out there who I would like to be reincarnated as, if it was essential, I'm going to go with Guz's answer. I'd probably say Keith Richards from the Rolling Stones, just because it looks like he dealt with fame very well, and he seems to really enjoy what he does for a job. He's really into the music, and you know, despite all the partying and substances and everything, he's still plodding along. So he seems to be enjoying his life. And I saw the documentary about him on Netflix a few years ago, and he seemed like a likable guy. So by default, that would be my answer, Keith Richards from the Rolling Stones. Okay, question 18. Best 3 lines in a song. Okay, so for that, I chose from Kiss's album Lick It Up, the song Gimme More. It's like a series of three phrases. And so the song's called Gimme More, so you can imagine what that's about. But the 3 phrases are, love is sweet, so insane, come on lick my candy cane. So again, I'm not taking that particularly seriously. I know some people will say that's sexist, but the song is about sex. But I just like the fact that unlike, for example, Steel Panther or hip hop groups where they make these lyrics about sex really crude and misogynistic, Kiss has always been clever because they express everything in metaphors, and it makes it clever and funny, at least in my opinion. So yeah, sorry if that's a bit primitive and basic, but they were just the 3 phrases that sprung to mind. So from Lick It Up, yeah. All right, and question 19, an album you never tire of. So if most of you who've been watching my channel will know this already. Yeah, undoubtedly, it's got to be my favorite metal album of all time, which is Marduk, Those of the Unlight. So a Swedish black metal band, this is their 2nd album. Unlike later material, it's quite melodic, yet at the same time very raw, and they also include some acoustic guitars and synths. But I just know this album back to front, every note on it, like I can sing every note, I know every part that's coming. And when it came out in 93, the first time I heard it was 1998, but honestly, I never tire of this album. Whenever I listen to it, it just commands my attention, and I just love the production. Like, it's kind of raw and the vocals are slightly echoey, but it's perfect for that essential black metal atmosphere. So an album that I never tire of, Marduk with Those of the Unlight. All right, be sure to check it out if you haven't. And question 20, share your favorite VC channel. Okay, I'm gonna go with the very first one I discovered back in the day, and that's a channel called Motley Crue Forever One. and that's run by a guy called Nick from the US. And so obviously Motley Crue is his favorite band, but despite that, what he mostly showed on his channel was Finnish black metal, or not just Finnish black metal, but black metal in general. He had a massive collection, very knowledgeable, and he just really, I don't know, his way of describing the album and the way of delivering, he never waffled, he was just straight to the point, but I always found it just really captivating and interesting to watch. So the reason I'm speaking in the past tense is, he told me that he's too busy now, you know, with life in general to be making these videos anymore, but I think the videos are still up there, so you can definitely check them out, and I'll leave the link in the description, and maybe he'll come back one day as well. So that's Motley Crue Forever 1, Nick from the US, talking mostly about black metal. So there you have it, guys. Wow, for me this is a short video considering there were 20 questions, just over 20 minutes. So yeah, I know it was mostly rock and metal oriented, but you know, that's the point of these tags, to give people an insight into their taste. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're new to the channel, welcome, and if you liked the video, please consider subscribing. As I said, I'm not going to be back for another couple of weeks because things are going to get busy for me for a bit, but that's why I'm cramming them all together now. However, I will be back again soon. I've still got plenty of material to talk about, so I look forward to doing that soon. Anyway, in the meantime, take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.